Secret Lairs show no signs of slowing down in 2021, with several new announcements including a super drop. Once again being used as a platform for products with a varied art direction and message, does this latest release still balance fresh styles with coherent card picks? Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about all things magic flavour design and lore. I'm your host, Andy Mann.
Hello, this is Nathan Cancel.
And we are going to be talking about the latest round of Secret Lairs. And we're recording this on Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day, buddy.
Oh, and you, buddy. Oh, I love you.
I love you too. There's been new Secret Lairs. Who would have thunk that they would keep doing Secret Lairs and that we'd have to keep looking at them?
I know, it's crazy. I thought this was going to die out after the second one. There was no precedence they're going to do 15 of these a year, right?
Oh man, back talking about bloody Secret Lairs again. But hey ho, there is a lot of good design in them. I know that you're quite excited about a few of these. I will admit, I think on first glance, these ones don't excite me quite as much as some other ones in the past. But I'm sure during the course of the episode, I'll prove myself wrong by talking about things for about 25 minutes at a time. Right. We've got technically two Secret Lair drops to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Black is Magic Secret Lair drop, which was released for Black History Month. And we are also going to be talking about the Smitten Super Drop, which is the ostensibly Valentine's Day themed Secret Lair drop, but only it's a super drop, so it's got a bunch of different ones. Only one of them is overtly Valentine's Day, but they're releasing it in line with Valentine's Day. Which, I mean, let's just talk about that just for a hot second.
Yes,
they didn't do a Christmas one. They did The Walking Dead for Halloween, but I kind of feel like the wind got taken out their sails.
Yeah, very much so.
Because they've been doing this for like a year. I'm not wrong in thinking they haven't done a holiday one than this one.
Well, I looked at this for last year, and the way they did the one they released around Valentine's Day last year was the Theory of Stargazing. And there is a degree of stargazing romanticism, fair enough. But this is exactly. But this is like the first time they've actually directly tied it to a holiday. And I think it's surprising that Valentine's is the one they went for.
Yeah,
considering things like Halloween and Christmas. I mean, obviously they do the Christmas holiday cards each year anyway, right? The ones that they send out to the staff members.
Yeah, but to staff members and select community members. But that's not
those who have made it, basically. not us.
Yeah, not us. God.
So I guess it's the first time they've seen one that's tied directly to a holiday, and I guess it's because Valentine's doesn't have like a religious tie necessarily. I mean, I know there is Saint Valentine, but it's a little bit more commercialized, right? Because some people don't celebrate Christmas, some people definitely don't celebrate Halloween. So I guess this is the one that's like the most inoffensive and the one that's most about community. And I think there's an aspect. I guess we'll get into it when we talk about specifically the Valentine's one, but the world needs a little love right now. So I think it was a smart choice to do something that panders a little bit to that.
Sure, for sure. I don't really know how I feel about it. It was just interesting to sort of see that they're tying it to a holiday. I kind of feel like my sort of anti-commercialism, socialist, lefty liberal mind thinks that it's bullshit that they would tie a product to a holiday just to cash in. But then in my head, I'm also going, I really want like a Father Christmas Felden or Hans Eriksson this year.
Yeah.
So maybe but then, just call up a altarist or get a proxy.
Exactly, right? Or altar sleeve. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Or an altar sleeve, exactly. It's just interesting. So we are going to be talking about Black is Magic first. You've done the outline for this. Black is Magic is obviously for Black History Month. I will say, I don't know what your personal experience is during your schooling, Nate, because we didn't go to the same school or even the same part of the country. But I know these days Black History Month is in quite a lot of schools, especially in London. I don't know if we celebrated Black History Month at my school. I don't think it's a big UK thing, or it wasn't until a few years ago.
Yeah, I guess it's difficult because London's very different, right? It's a microcosm, and I grew up in London. Where did you grow up?
Sussex, which is, for those people who kind of want to reference, if they know anything about the UK, Sussex is one of the home counties that kind of sits between London and the coast. So Brighton is a big sort of, people know Brighton from other countries. So Brighton's right on the coast. London's obviously kind of southeast. and then Sussex and Surrey are the two like big southeast counties. So
Yeah.
I'm like London adjacent, if like, especially for somewhere like America. A lot of our US listeners will look at the map and just go, what are you talking about? You're not London. That's like, like a suburb of London, right? Like technically no.
Yeah, so I think
Quite a
London
white
itself.
community, like honestly, yeah. Like quite white,
That's
quite
the
middle
thing.
class.
So I think like the countryside in England's very similar, I guess, to most countries, of where you, as soon as you move out of the city, you the diversity and the multiculturalism kind of drops a little bit. I know certain cities like Manchester, for example, have a massive multicultural aspect. Same with Glasgow. I mean, any big city will. So I think it's interesting that no, I didn't have a Black History Month growing up through my school, even though I went to a school that was exceptionally diverse. But even then, I mean, we're looking at what, like 14 years ago now, like 15 years ago before secondary school. So I think London had maybe a better understanding of multiculturalism anyway. Saying that, I say that with an exasperated sigh, because I think regardless, there is an education still needed to be made, especially if you are further outside of cities, because it's just you don't have the awareness of it. It's not something that you're immersed in. It's not something that you are subject to. Like, I know a lot of schools where I live right now, which is the most south of Surrey you can get before you get to like Hampshire, there is a lack of diversity for sure. So I think, I guess it massively depends on where you are. And I think over the last few years, it's become more and more important.
For sure. It's definitely something which I think we both feel has been quite needed,
Long
I
time
guess.
coming. Yeah, for sure.
Long time coming is the word. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think this is probably one of the best. I've put it here at the top of my like notes. I think this is probably the best delivered Secret Lair in terms of balancing real world intent within the game pieces that kind of make sense. It doesn't feel pushed or shooed in, which it could have very easily felt like it was pandering. Obviously, there was an issue fairly recently, and very obviously that there wasn't enough diversity within the artists within the game that are like, you know, the house names, as it were, the ones that kind of sit in and do consistent artwork set by set by set. This was probably already in the works, and maybe I want to say I believe this was already in the works anyway, but this probably got pushed massively specifically because of that, going like, look, no, if not in terms of covering the rest, but going, look, this is a representation that needs to be in the game. Like, all of the artists that we have within this drop are of color. So there is, and I think this kind of shows within the artwork itself. And maybe that's a telling point of where if you can show like a ethnic diversity within art style, maybe that's something that needs to be introduced into Magic. That's a whole different other conversation, I think. Obviously, in its microcosm of a Secret Lair drop, I think this was very needed. I think there was a lack of representation, a lack of awareness. And again, it's harder for us to tell because I think England has a bit softer in terms of its diversity. I think America, obviously, there's been a lot of issue recently, a lot of antagonization. The Black Lives Matter movement is massively in the spotlight. And I think this is a really good way for Magic to kind of, again, I don't think it's jumping on a bandwagon. I think it's reinforcing the acceptance of that culture.
Yeah, it's pushing a need. And if it is maybe a bit pushed, then maybe that's something which is, the question isn't why are they pushing it? The question is, why does it need to be so pushed in the first place?
Why does it feel like it's deliberate when it should just be something that's natural, right?
Yeah.
Like, there should be natural diversity. And if it shows when they push for it, then that's already its own problem. And I think this is the only way to fix it. I said to my mum, talking about it today, like, there's no way around it, realistically. If you don't have representation, then you kind of need to shoehorn it in, because you need to make sure it feels like a household thing. It needs to feel natural. It needs to feel normal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will just flag up now for anyone who's listening who's maybe slightly eye-rolling at a couple of pasty white English boys trying to talk about the sort of sensitivities of, like, you know, racial diversity across countries and even in countries where we don't live. But, you know, this is the thing. This is what we're confronted with, and we're trying our best to articulate it. Yeah. But let's talk about the cards, because the cards are like tangible, and, you know, there's very little way for us to mess up talking about how much we like or dislike the cards. So let's jump in.
So the first one, again, this is where I think it's quite nice and on the nose, is Shalai, Voice of Plenty. This is by the artist Ananda Souza, Brazilian. I think this is a fantastic moniker to represent the people within the game. Obviously, this is the point, right? This is a voice for that culture, and the Voice of Plenty is demonstrative of the fact there is a grand group of people that this is representing. But I think this is a really good way to kick it off, this idea of this is a voice for plenty of people, that there's a lot of people out there that are being spoken for and have their voice within this product. I think it's very cool. And it's a shame that I think only two of the cards had flavor text. I think there's only so much you can do when two of them are Planeswalkers. Shall I maybe could have had the text box bunched up a bit? I don't know. I think it's probably a bit too tough. But yeah, if we move on to Ponder by Edgewa, or Edge as they go by, Abenabe. He's a Black American. The thing I love about Ponder, I mean, again, we'll talk about the individual artworks as we go through, because I think this is a fantastic way of taking a real world character within Magic and then expanding on them using the voice of our kind of our real world. Will the future be brighter? Asked the girl. Riel smiled. I will teach you how to make it so. Now, this is fantastic. This idea of pondering the future. Is this something, are we going to be able to move forward and have this camaraderie? Like, it's a really honest question, and I imagine it's a question that a lot of young children of color will have to their parents to be like, look, are things going to get better? Like, I feel like oppression, I feel like segregation, I feel difference. Is this something that we can look and make better going forward? And it's not just a question within the game, it's a question that kind of speaks out to the audience as well.
Yeah, it's a very relatable sentiment.
Exactly.
I will say some of these cards also do actually get a little bit of flavor and a little bit of backstory on the article Designing Black is Magic, which is on the Magic Mothership. So Ponder is one where it actually has like a bit of a story attached to it, which is a really cool idea, that we get like a mini story, like a mini web fiction attached to a specific card, like telling the story of this moment in time. So yeah, I will link this article in the description as well, so people can go check it out. The artwork on this Ponder is incredible.
Yeah, they harkens back to not the original, because that was Glorwyn, but the second one that came out in the whatever it was set. Like,
yeah, with the 3 orbs.
Exactly. Yeah, this idea of past, present, future. Yeah, very cool.
Is this Riel the Everwise, or are they just using a similar name?
Yeah, Riel the Everwise, absolutely. Yeah, but this is what I mean of where they clearly looked throughout their products and went, okay, what characters can we pull and expand on? So the next one we look at is Cultivate. Oh god, sorry, I've got a million tabs open as I always do this. Is Hilary D. Wilson. Again, the focus of this, I think, is fantastic, is the flavor text. The Black Lotus rises from adverse conditions and produces a rare bloom. We grow the lotus to remind us to look to the future despite the suffering of the past. Now, that is as on the nose as I think you could possibly make, but I think this, again, it's so... I don't know, it feels so honest and so engaging for me. Again, it's hard for me to say. My perspective is my own, but I love this idea of to make this better, we have to cultivate the environment for it, right? It has to be something that everyone allows to prosper. Like, if we don't give support to the things, then they can't bloom naturally, right? And again, it feels very on the nose, but the sentiment, I think, is fantastic, and I think it's very well handled.
There's looking at the description of it on the Designing Black is Magic page. It's also, there's a lot tied up to do with Black Americans during the period of slavery in America, and just the general sort of stigmas surrounding like farming culture and Black Americans, and so Cultivate kind of addresses that as well, which is really nice, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's also really nice to see another Cultivate artwork. Also, this is one of the first times you see them actually cultivating something on the card, right?
Yeah, sure.
Which is like, you don't think about it sometimes, but you look at all throughout the Cultivates, they're kind of a little bit... I mean, I guess the one that came out with Double Masters had an aspect of the mage cultivating the area around her, but they're all a little bit abstract, right? Whereas this is actually two young children, like, generally like caring for a Black Lotus, which I think is really nice. It's also, I love it when they use other cards in a card, like, and that's a great little connection. The next one's Kaya Ghost Assassin by Danny Pendergast. All of these artists, by the way, have great, fantastic portfolios. I don't have time to go into all of them because there's a lot of artists throughout the products. But I've been looking at these all for the last couple of days, and some of them are absolutely stunning. I think Danny Pendergast was the one who did the Arcane Signet from Bunch of Rocks. I know it's the one that you specifically liked, where it looked like the person was getting kind of sucked into the Signet's magic. So, I mean, apart from Danny Pendergast, none of the other artists within this have had art within Magic already, which I think is really surprising looking at some of the art styles that they've gone. Some of them seem very appropriate for Magic, and it's weird that we haven't seen them yet. But yeah, Kaya Ghost Assassin. It's funny, like, this is much more minimalist, I want to say, in terms of art style.
Which comic booky, like a bit more illustrative. Yeah.
Which, again, I think we've always said this, that we like diversity in the art styles, and the diversity across these 5 cards is actually quite striking. I think Kai is probably the one that stands out the most, but it's also nice to have her. I think this might be the first time we've got a new artwork for this version of her. I think the other 2 versions have differing artwork, so it's quite nice to get an update version for it as well.
Yeah, for sure. More Kaya artwork. I really like Kaya as a character. Yeah, I also think her standard like outfit with the buckled jacket with like the shoulder like cloaks, like they're kind of like pauldrons, but they're fabric pauldrons on her jacket. Like, I think she looks cool. So yeah, any more artwork with her on it is fantastic.
And then the last one of them is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Hmm.
I think this is probably the nicest out of them. This is by an artist Neo. It's spelled Knio, but it's pronounced Neo. Again, go and look up these artists. They've got some fantastic works online. But this shows Teferi with his daughter and his wife in shot as a nice community father figure, as it were,
Hmm.
which is really nice because Teferi's obviously kind of he's got two lots of history, right? He's got the history that's where a lot of people don't like him for the shit he did in the past. Like when you've lived as long as Teferi has, like you've done some bad in your time, obviously, and there's gonna be some people that don't like you. And I like also that considering his Planeswalkers had such a bad rap over the last couple of years, it's really nice to see a nice wholesome moment that you look and you go, oh yeah, he's just a family man, wasn't he? Just trying to get by, you know. And I think that's really
I mean,
wholesome.
a lot of the cards kind of hint, and the story is surrounding him and his family, and the fact that we have a Subira card, which is his wife, and the fact that we've had two Nyambi cards, which is his daughter, and we have had Teferi and Nyambi on a couple of cards together. I think the most recent one was Teferi's Protection from the Secret Lair, the charity Secret Lair that they did recently for the children's charity. So we had Nyambi and Teferi on that card as well. But we haven't had them all in one like portrait almost.
Yeah.
So having all three of them on this card and showing a side of Teferi that's not like combative or even necessarily he's doing magic in it. Like he's just there with his family, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it was also a really nice homage to the fact that Teferi was the first Black Planeswalker. So you're going to have to have him in this
precisely
in this Secret Lair, right?
Yeah, I think it's also nice that they gave him the Hero of Dominaria card. This is the one. Like this is like almost quintessential Teferi, right? This is everything that I think they want to show him going forwards of where he had the family aspect and he is. I mean, again, you can forgive people their misgivings when they've had millennia to make mistakes.
Sure.
But yeah, I think in general, I think this is just very well handled. Like I was a bit worried at first that it was going to feel a little bit ham-fisted, but again, like they've only 2 out of the 5 cards are flavor text, but I think they really do elevate this product to feel like something that is very well handled. I think it's a very sensitive thing. It shouldn't be, right? It is a sensitive thing. I think
the world we live in, these issues need to. It's the hard line between having to have these issues be addressed, but also have it not be handled like a ham-fisted pig. And so I think you're right. I think from our perspective and from where we're sitting, and we will be happily told otherwise by people who are far more in the know and affected by it, always, because you have to be open to being told that you're wrong and you need to learn. But from where we're sitting now, this looks like it was the best it could have been handled at this time for the situation that it's in. And now let's just hope and pray that they actually put this artwork and make these artists part of the main roster, or and just increase visibility all around, because it's all very well having a Secret Lair to kind of go, look, we're making an effort to try, and then not to follow up on that would be very sad. So let's hope they follow up on it.
Yeah, I guess it reminds me of a lot of last year's like the cosplay thing. I hope in the same way it's like, okay, cool, fantastic, there's been representation, but let's make sure that it's continued rather than just a flash in the pan.
Sure.
So now we move on to the Smitten Super Drop. Now this technically has 5 different drops. I'm kind of going to combine the Showcase Cowtime Part 1 and Part 2 together because they basically are the same kind of product, just with different items within them. Don't know why I brought that up immediately, because that's the last one we're going to talk about. The first one.
I'll run through the list and then we can talk about them individually. So we've got the Cowtimes Part 1 and Part 2. We have Valentine's Day 2021, the Unfathomable Crushing Brutality of Basic Lands, which is a basic land cycle, and we have Fairy Rad, which is 4 fairy cards. All of these come in foil and non-foil, except for the Fairy Rad, which only comes in foil, I believe.
Yes, right.
And then you can buy them all as one big super drop, as in like a bundle all together, called Smitten Super Drop All Our Love Bundle. Whoever's getting paid to make all the names for these.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Can we
They're
pause
paying
right
them
there
way
for a
too
moment?
much money.
What the fuck? Right, so we've had this issue ever since Mountain Go, right? Instead of being Mountain Pass. Now,
Sure.
I don't care. I'm gonna go to America. I'm gonna walk through their door and be like, bitches, your marketing team is shit. Fairy Rad. Are you mad? When you have to put the same word 3 times for people to understand, like, oh, you mean very.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, right.
I kind of half thought it was, but I didn't know.
Oh, if you have room for maneuver within your title in terms of understanding the punnery of it, then you have not done a good job. Okay, I literally have written sigh. These naming conventions are so base.
Well, like the fact that they gave a name to the bundle instead of just doing Smitten Super Drop Bundle, they've had to give it its own name. Also, All Our Love Bundle is better than Smitten for a start. But I don't know. It's called their Secret Lairs. what the term that's associated with Valentine's Day is secret admirer. Why wasn't it like
Oh, I didn't
secret
even
lair,
thought about
secret
that,
admirer?
right? Yeah, from your
Like I'm
secret admirer,
not getting
wink
paid
face, whatever.
presumably thousands of dollars to make up the names of these
So
things.
let's
But I
not
feel
find out
like
how
I'm
much.
already halfway there, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
And then
very
they called two
bizarre.
of them Kaldheims Part 1 and 2. And then
See,
Valentine's Day 2021, then they have a really cool name with the unfathomable crushing brutality of basic lands.
oh,
And
well,
then
we'll get to that as well. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, this is the thing with this one. You could have gone with A Very Good Time, or
sure.
All is Fae in Love and War.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right, pay me wizards,
Yeah.
pay me now. And then I even had fairy tales. Just call it fairy tales or something like that. Like it's just very, very, very rad. And even yesterday, you wrote, so we were talking about this. You were like, "Oh yeah, they look pretty rad." I'm like, "Oh, who uses the word rad?"
Oh, I mean, I do, but I mean,
I know, but you're cool.
I wouldn't go.
Like wizards aren't cool, you know. They don't get to use the default. Like I used to say swish when I was a youngster, and there were some people that thought I was an idiot, and there were some people like, "You're the coolest thing since like buttered bread." And they were wrong. I was definitely not a cool kid, but yeah, like I don't know. I feel like that's just so. Again, the fairy, very fairy part of it. The fact you have to repeat it 3 times, and there's 4 fairies in it. Oh, I don't know. It just all of it annoys me.
I would never look at something and go, "Oh, that's very, very, very rad." How rad is that? It's very, very, very.
I know, it's just so bizarre. I feel like, and that's where I feel like sometimes you can see they've paid so much attention to certain aspects of these products, right? And it's when you compare them to some other aspects. So once we get to the cow time, we'll talk about like the contents and whether or not we think they hit some mark in that regard. But sometimes I think naming convention is one of these things. Again, when we said this with the super drop before, like this is the way you sell your product. I know realistically it's not, and the same way I do it, I see the pretty cards in the art style that I haven't seen before. I'm like, oh my good god, I don't even care. Just put it in me. You know, like that's fair enough. Like the names aren't that important, but they are. You know, and the fact that you've missed there, I don't know. It's funny. It's just funny to look at and be like, what were you thinking? But yeah, okay. Let's talk about them anyway. So beyond the name, I think very, very, very rad is actually pretty rad. I think this is
It's the best one.
Yeah, I think it's the best out of them. And again, we're talking very subjectively because these have got, again, across these 5 different artworks, exceptionally diverse art styles. Now, the very, very, very rad one looks... Oh God, I'm so sick of saying it already.
Just say the fairy one.
Yeah, the fairy one has a lot of gouache kind of like style of where it's like opaque kind of comic style artworks of where the saturation is super high, the hues are really ambaric, and there's a really good ambiance to these cards. It's almost like a sun-kissed effect to it, especially to the spell stutter sprite. But let me talk about each artist again. Tabs working cool. So the spell stutter sprite, they named that correctly, is Maria Paliakova. And again, she's got some really ethereal qualities to her work. She's a computer graphics artist. So she has a really good way to create this kind of glow effect that you don't typically get from using paintbrushes. I'm not saying that people aren't people out there that can do it. It's just a very difficult effect to get, this kind of glow effect. Lord Drakus is a really good example of this, of where this sun dappled effect, that kind of a vibrant, it almost pushes the vibrancy outside of the card. And the thing about this is that because they've done the artwork right up to the border, like it's borderless, this effect kind of accentuates itself even more. Question immediately is, how are the foils going to look? Because this specifically is a foil only product, and it's annoying for me that one, you don't get a choice. I feel like it's strange that all of the others have a choice and this one doesn't, especially considering that this is an art style that could be massively enhanced or detracted from by having a foil effect. I assume that because it looks so good, and this is the decision they made in-house, that because it looked so good in foil, they went, we're not even going to offer them non-foil. Like, it looks so good in foil, we have to do this. But it's very difficult to tell that over a computer screen.
Yeah, I wonder how much money they're saving by not printing it in... Because it's got to be, it can't, I don't think it's creative. It's got to be money-wise.
Yeah, and it's more expensive because it's the only one that's £40, obviously, because it's only available if you want it individually. I guess there might be a degree of, if this is, they think objectively, the one that people are likely to go for the most, right? This is the one that people are their eyes are drawn to it. It's playing cards like Vendilion Click, and Glenelender Archmage that are actually playable and used across multiple formats. Like, this is the one that maybe people will automatically go for if they only buy one, so they wanted to make that one specifically only foils, so they specifically make more money off of it. I mean, maybe, probably, in some fashion, there's got to be. Obviously, the marketing team needed to make profits from the last couple of years, as we've seen with the way they've been doing products. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the reasoning. It's just very frustrating, because these are cards, like, I'd have really, really been happy to get something like Spellstutter Strike, even though I don't play it. I'd have loved to have had that as a card that in a non-foil environment. But anyway, moving on. Mistbind Click, Maria Abagnale. Again, if I butcher any of these names, apologies. They are quite diverse. This is one of the things that's really nice, is that all of the artists within the Fairy Lair drop are women from various parts of the world. Again, doing our best to maintain diversity across the artists. So the thing I like about Mistbind Click is that the artist Maria, she does a lot of like surrealist artwork. I believe that she became like semi-deaf, and a lot of artwork there, and that's kind of when her art inspiration exploded, because she felt very secluded from her own life. She said she didn't really know how to live anymore because you've lost this aspect of yourself. A lot of her artwork kind of shows this. There's a few different pieces where it has like a lock and key, and the lock's kind of like where the subject's ear is, and the key's like almost unlocking her ideas. The shameful thing about this, I think Mistbind Click's probably the most normal out of the artworks that I've seen her do. And I think this might be where the art direction line was, because if you look at all of the artist portfolios, because they're really interesting. But considering all of the different artworks I've seen from her, this is probably, again, one of the more normal versions that I've seen. Yes, it's still super vibrant. Yes, it's still got a lot of I guess it's not necessarily surrealist, but it's kind of abstract, and its colour hue is super dense.
It shows it's two fairies kind of sharing a cup of fairy juice. They've got like mugs made out of leaves, and they're kind of where there's no actual setting. It's all just multicolored leaves and petals and stuff. That's kind of the background of this piece.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that all of the other bits that she has are a bit more abstract. Some of them are more risque, which obviously they won't be able to put on a Magic card. But this feels actually like more one of her more normal pieces. When you look at it from a Magic point of view, it looks more diverse than the normal artwork we get, which is just an interesting point of where they might have a line that they say with the artist of going, "This is as far as we want you to push it, really," before you're straying from what we kind of have the intent of the art looking like. Vendilion Click is by Jen Bartel. Now, Jen Bartel is a Eisner award-winning cover work artist for things like Women of the Galaxy, which is the Star Wars book, DC Women of Action books as well. She did the artworks for those. So she's already a prolific figure. She's the one I think that I most saw people kind of go, oh, Jen Bartel's doing Magic cards, instead of Magic players going, oh, who's this artist? Oh, that's Jen Bartel. This is the first one I've seen of where the artist has been more prevalent than the outside of Magic, and it's interesting that now she's doing Magic cards. Now, there's, again, I think Vendilion Click's gorgeous. All of the artworks have been very good for it, but again, it shows three separate different sprites, but each with their own hue. The leftmost one has like dark crimsons, the middle one's like a pinky kind of creamy colour, and the one on the right hand side is like more green, like grass leafy colours. Again, this contrast looks stunning. I imagine this card in foil is gorgeous, and I think arguably Vendilion Click's probably the best card out of the four of them in terms of like multi-format playability.
Oh, sure. I would say the each of the sprites look to me like they've had their own bug kind of theme around them. So the red one looks to me to be like a ladybird or a ladybug.
Oh yes, of course.
If you fancy.
Yeah.
The middle one's like a moth, like a snow moth. And then the furthest right one looks like to be like a wasp or a bee.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, the little frondy bits on the middle one. See, it's little things like that. Yeah, very cool. Again, you can tell with this one out of all of them, I think, again, generalizing, there's a lot of fun that's been had here with the art style. And I think
fairies are fun, aren't they? Yeah. Fairies are like, they can be whatever the hell they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think all of these are all Lorwyn fairies, which is interesting that they didn't choose any ones that are outside of it. Before we decide to talk about that, let's go to the fourth one, and this is Glenelender Archmage. I think.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, again, this is my favourite out of all. This is the one that if I wasn't a poor man on furlough, then I'd have bought this already. This is the one that I'm going to wait for it to drop, like with Void Slime, and I will find someone who's going to sell it as an individual card, because I need this in my decks like yesterday. This is stunning. This is by Rian Gonzalez, a Philippines gouache painter, and this is where I got the gouache terminology from, because I looked into her art style, and again, it's using watercolors that have increased opaqueness to them. It's kind of somewhere between like oil and watercolor. And this is where
this is traditionally painted. This isn't digital. This one,
No,
everyone's going nuts. What you say about the glow effect is kind of hard to achieve with traditional painting. This has got the fairy is in the center of the piece, and they've got a staff, and the crown of the staff is like glowing. It's all traditionally painted. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. The color palette, I say, like, each of them has their own kind of I mean, all of them are multicolored, all of them have almost the entire rainbow within them, but this one really kind of shows. And again, this slight comic aspect that I understand can't be put into like a normal set, again, like what we saw a lot with your courier artworks, so where some of the comic artworks definitely could have been put in the set. Some of them you're like, maybe this would have been in the realms of possibility. All of these are saturated to fuck, so I don't think you can get away with it. But yeah, as a 4, as you look across them here, they just look unbelievable.
They're very cool.
Very, very good work. Again, all female artists, which is very nice. I don't think any of them, apart from no, none of them have artwork within the game yet already. So it'd be interesting to see if they do more of these in other Secret Lair products. I said it's very similar art direction to like the Bunch of Rocks or like Pavlovia. It feels a little bit Pavlovian, of where it's almost like kind of kiddie, chibi kind of feeling. So maybe this is something they're willing to do more and more going forwards. I would have personally liked to have seen Widwin in here, because she hasn't had a new artwork since her original, and I think she's a bit. I know it would be nice to have, like, especially that she's a commander that you can play. It would have been nice to see her. Una's already had an artwork with the National Women's Day last year. The other one that I think could have been in here is Fairy Artisans. It's basically, I looked at Spell Stutter Sprite and I was like, it's usually played in formats where you have multiples of them, right? And this is a difficult thing of where you did the Bolt Secret Lair. Fine, cool. You've got 4 copies of it, so your play set in whatever format you're playing is doable. Whereas I think Spell Stutter Sprite, beyond being impossible to pronounce, apparently, maybe even I think artistically, I think it's stunning. Maybe in terms of functionality, kind of sits a little bit outside it. But again, it's nice that they're all Lorwyn fairies. It kind of ties the whole product together in multiple ways. Yeah, they are rad. It is pretty rad. I can't argue.
I like them a lot.
So now we're moving on to from fairies to basics, and this is the unfathomable, crushing brutality of basic lands. And initially, I really hated the title. The more I say it, the more. I mean, my note is Dr. Berman Parnassus' unexpectedly eternal sunshine of the spotless mind and the virtuous imaginarium of ignorance. Because I just went with all of like the really long film titles and just mashed them together. Like, it feels like slight overcompensation for the fact they did. Oh, let's do 5 basics, but let's make them unfathomably crushing brutality. Like, okay. It's a massive continuation from the Cow Time key artwork. So he did the hoodie and the poster artwork, the one that says Cow Time, and I think it's got on the hoodie it's got the mana symbols down one left sleeve and then like a blade down the right hand side. Same artist who did that. So he also did a load of like Slipknot branding as well. So it's an art style that's very synonymous with the same way that Cow Time's initial like product release, everyone was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this reminds me of all of the
also it's the last Secret Lair that they did when they did the super drop that they did when they had the metal.
Yes, Party Hard, Shred Harder. Yeah,
Party Hard, Shred Harder. Thank you. Yeah, it's just the basic lands for that, right? Obviously, slightly different art style because they're all black and white.
Exactly,
except for a slight hue on the border. On the text boxes. But I mean, yeah, they're good. They're good. I think that I had my feelings toward these are very much the same as it was for that one. Is that to me, this is where the line between, it's not for me, but it's definitely for a lot of other people is, because there are going to be loads of people that absolutely love this and have a real sort of affiliation for this kind of art style and for like metal band artwork and all that kind of stuff in general. And like I have as before. I think I've said all this before with the last Secret Lair because it's essentially my same feeling. But yeah, they're not for me, honestly.
That's fair. I think it's quite interesting to have the black and white stark contrast with the banners. I think that actually really helps accentuate them. What I've put here is that it's a very similar feel to the Constellation lands. They have almost like its energy card feel because the mana symbol is right in the center. It looks very much like the Pokemon aspect ratio where they have their energy cards. What's really interesting is if you go onto his website, he doesn't have the artwork without the banners with the mana symbols because obviously each mana symbol, little tidbit, is trademarked to Wizards, so you can't actually show them without having Wizards affiliated to it. So on his website, he has it without the banner at the top, without the banner at the bottom, and then without the mana symbol in the middle, which is very interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. And I think these individually do have some nice diversity to them. So the island has 2 cloaked figures facing away from each other. The others are fairly like standard. So the plains one has some blades. Obviously the black one has full skeletons surrounding it. The mountain one has a couple of candles. All of them have skull motifs somewhere within them. Obviously the forest one has some branches and roots. I think, objectively, I think I like them. I like them as pieces. Again, the issue is that you only get one of each of them. It's not even like the Bob Ross drop where you got 2 of each and an Evolving Wilds. You only get 1 of each. I think that's something that's going to annoy people. I imagine the foils on these are going to look unbelievable, though. Because I imagine all they do is they highlight the white bits. Obviously, they mute all of the black bits. And then when you get the right sheen, God, these are going to have to look great. But again, these are very diversifying. I think, again, like with the Kaldheim show, not to showcase, but the Party Hard, Shred Hard are like, there's definitely a market for these for certain people, but it certainly does polarize opinions on them.
And it's a big cross section of the Magic community are people who listen to like metal music and heavy metal and kind of in that like little sub genre like that and nerd culture. Obviously, this doesn't go for everyone because that'd be ridiculous to a broad sweeping statement that is fact. But I would hedge a bet that a large part of the community at some point in their lives has been part of that kind of subculture. I mean, I know I was.
Sure.
I mean, I think I prefer these to the Party Hard, Shred Harder, just for the fact that they are more illustrative and they're almost more generic in the fact that they are lands. That's why I quite like alternate land art, because I know for some people it really doesn't fly with land art because you want your lands to look like lands because they're the mana base of your game. But I think for me, if you're going to make alternate art of anything, lands are the place to go. So I do appreciate them like that. They're not for me. I won't be picking them up, but all power to you if you like them.
Coolio. So the next one moving on to is the actual Valentine's Day 2021, which is the name they bloody gave it. Like, of all the things, they did the Smitten Super Dark. Even that I like, because I like the word Smitten. I think it's very cute. But they just called this one Valentine's Day 2021. It's like, it kind of indicates to me they're likely to do a Valentine's Day 2022. Like, do you even put the year on it to make it more generic? Again, like, there's a lot of lost marketing here, I feel like. But again, that's like the least important part of it.
Sure.
The important part of it is all 6 of these cards. It's 5 cards and a token. These are all done by Brandy Milne. These are I don't know why these appeal to me so much, and that's not a slight against Brandy whatsoever, but these are just, the more I look at them, the more cute and lovely I find them. They remind me a lot.
There's a lot of cool little details.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like what did I say? What did I put down? It reminded me a lot of the Tale of Princess Kaguya, the Studio Ghibli, like where it's one of their pieces that's slightly less defined and it's got less. It's less overworked. Like the illustration's a little bit more reserved. And there is another thing that it reminds me of. Like literally, I've been trying to rack my brain for it for like a day and a half, and I cannot think of it. Monastery Swiftspear specifically reminds me of this, and I can't remember what it is. And it has it makes my heart flutter. You know the nostalgia you get from like when you look at like a Pokemon card, like a shiny Charizard, and you go, "Oh, I remember the feeling of when I was 7 in the playground trading a Geodude for a Nidorino."
These remind me a lot of the kind of artwork that you get on Hallmark Valentine's Day cards, which I suppose is the way that they go, but obviously, I mean, not quite as mass produced as that, obviously, because it's more care and attention been put into this product. But yeah, so the cards that are in this, we have Heliod, God of the Sun, we have Goblin Rebel Master, Monastery Swiftspear, we have Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, and Boris Charm, and then there's also a Goblin token. So you get 6 cards in this super drop. I'm not quite sure where the choices for these cards came from, to be honest with you, because some of them are like really on point. Like, so the inclusion of Heliod, God of the Sun, Sun Crown, is a really interesting one because there's. I don't know if this is exactly what they were going for, or whether it was just a happy coincidence, but it's there all the same. Isn't that in the Crewfix-based story from the original Theros web fiction? Crewfix is talking to one of his disciples about the gods and about Nyx and the kind of state of it all. And he talks about how Heliod wasn't always the sun god. And he says that directly after stating that there used to be a god of love, but there isn't one anymore. Did you always think Heliod was the sun god? And so there's always been this kind of fan theory that Heliod was the god of love before he was the sun god. Yeah, so to have him be in this... Yeah, well, yeah. Also, I think I posted on Twitter because it was Jay and Ellie posted this on Twitter as the thing. It's been a fan theory for a long time, but he's the one that reminded people. And I think I said something like, can you imagine like if Heliod was just as possessive and jealous as the love god as he is as the sun god? Right. That probably wasn't a very good time. But to have him depicted with Heliod Sun Crowned, which is his Theros Beyond Death card, as like the god of love with a big spear. So he's still got his big spear, but it's got a big heart on the end of it, and he's got a big sort of like, almost like a Bakewell tart heart on his belt, and he's got big flow robes. And then all the other cards have that kind of same motif. It's just a bunch of weird choices because there are plenty of couples in Magic.
Yeah, Cathartic Reunion, maybe. Like, even if
Cathartic
you
Reunion,
stick to like Boris cards, like, yeah.
I suppose they wanted to stick to Boris cards. That's true, but then there's things like Helena and Elena. You could have had. You could have had. Who's the box commander for the four color?
Kyranos and Tiro.
Yeah, exactly. You could have had them on a card.
I think that would have been a really good choice for this. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do couples. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, you can't do Gester and Tirolf because that's a bit.
Well, they're brother and sister.
So that's a bit weird. But yeah,
you could have Pierre and Kieran Nallar.
Right, exactly. Again, that's also a red card within this. I feel like Rabble Master, as much as is delightful that it is. I've never thought about this before, but the word Rabble Master actually sounds really cute, and it kind of puts it in a whole new context in this because all the goblins are running out of this little box of chocolates, and the Rabble Master himself has this little like humbug mint as his hat. Which again, the art direction for this is amazing, but yeah, the card choices are questionable. Why is there a Monastery Swiftspear in here? Beyond the fact she looks amazing, this is also a really good example of having minimalist text of where she obviously has haste and prowess, but they've not put any reminder text in it, so you get full effect of the artwork for once, which is lovely.
Yeah, the text boxes are all kind of transparent, so you can see a lot of the art as well, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of nice little details. Like, don't get me wrong, I like these cards. I just don't know why these cards were the ones that were picked.
Yeah, also, is Gisela represented as a little Cupid? Does that really kind of throw her out as a double damaging, half damaging 5/5?
Creepy. Who likes Cupids?
Imagine this little baby coming at you as a 5/5, smacking you for 10 in the face. What the hell's going on?
No, I don't like it. Boris Charm is like, a
protecting
a rose
your heart
wreath
with
with another cherub on it. Yeah,
I
just don't get it.
I think the art style kind of forgives a lot of the choices that I don't think were necessarily theirs as an artist. Obviously, they just got given these cards.
Oh no,
and they did the best they could with them. I do think it's great that they've managed to get the constellation effect in the sleeves of Heliod still, so it still always has that. It's still, again, all of these feel grounded within as individual pieces, but as a collection, it maybe doesn't read amazingly. Again, if that Heliod Suncrown is deliberate, then that means Wizards are very clever, but that means they missed out on other opportunities.
Why? There's peppermints are like the motif in a few of these. Are peppermints something you attribute to Valentine's Day?
No. I mean, the artist herself does a lot of this kind of style. She works a lot with this, specifically with like sweets and
well, that's fair enough then, and that's the artist putting it into their own thing. So okay, that's fair enough.
But I do know what you mean. It does seem. Had you given me these artworks without the text, without the names or anything, I probably wouldn't have been able to. I mean, Heliod would have been easy, but even then, like, I wouldn't be able to directly affiliate them. Again, the artist had a lot of fun with these. I think that speaks to its charm a lot. Like the Goblin token has been choked full of a bouquet of roses, which I think is hilarious. The idea of where you tie up a goblin, you chunk a load of roses down its throat, and you send that to your love for Valentine's. Like, oh, cute, delightful. The Dominarian way of saying I love you.
Well, all right. Let me flip around with you because you made a good point about like how would you be able to tell this if you were given not all the information. If I was to say to you, okay, there's going to be a Secret Lair drop that's going to have Heliod, Goblin Rebel Master, Monastery Swiftspear, Gisela, Boris Charm, and a Goblin token. What's that going to be for?
Yeah, right.
Would you ever have been guessed Valentine's Day? No. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Right. And I guess it would have been a really good time for them to have done the couples thing. I think maybe that's what they'll do next year. Maybe when they have a few more couples that they can do it with. Currently, we've only got, I think, 2 or 3 like that I can think outside of Pier and Kier, Curious and Tiro, and Helena and Elena. I can't really think of any. Oh, I guess you've got Rao and Tomic as well. You could have done Ran and Tomic. You could have also had Vraska and Jace. Yeah, there are options.
Could have had Vraska and Jace. That's a great shout. Yeah.
I guess maybe again, I think it works. The color palette and everything. This works together as a little product. It's just obviously we're now musing where and why the parameters of it were.
Could they have done? Would they have dared done Nissa and Chandra?
Amazing. No, do like they did with The Walking Dead. Make a black border partner, like they did with the Royal Scions, that are both Nissa and Chandra as a planeswalker together, and go, hey, you really hated that we did like a new product for Walking Dead. Here, how do you feel about this one? And everyone's like, oh, we're glad you did it, but
fuck you.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, that would have been hilarious. Ultimate troll. So yeah, I guess it does. There are some question marks here. Saying that again, I think as a piece, I think it works really nicely, and it does feel as a product very Valentine's-y if there isn't some questions within it. So moving on to what I think is probably like I'm going to say like the least interesting because I don't know why. I think it's because we specifically have just had Cowtime come out with all the showcases, and we spent a good time over the last couple of weeks looking at these artworks, looking at these art styles. A lot of our play group have been showing off their opens, their pulls, and I've played against a few of these cards as well. So it doesn't feel quite as like, oh, cool, amazing, we're getting more Cowtime showcase border. But then I thought about it, and I realised they did the constellation effect this time last year for Theros. They updated all of the old gods with a constellation effect. Adventure format doesn't work with anything that isn't an adventure.
No.
Which is probably why they didn't do it for that. The only other thing I think they could have done this for in terms of adding a Cowtime aspect to it would have been the gods from Amonkhet, maybe. And even then, they're not that interesting. They're not that cool. The God Eternals also aren't that cool. So the fact they did Titans, I think, is actually fine.
Thematically, it's great. So we've got two different Kaldheim showcases. So they're doing 3 cards each. In one of them, you got Frost Titan, Primeval Titan, and Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And in the other one, you've got Grave Titan, Inferno Titan, and Croxer, Titan of Death's Hunger. So, yeah, you got 6 Titans from different planes as well, it must be said. So they didn't necessarily stick to one plane, because obviously Uro and Croxer are from Theros. And they've paired them up, so you have the blue and the green Titan with Uro, who's the Simic Titan, and then you have the black and the red Titan with Croxer, who's the Rakdos Titan.
Yeah.
Fuck some Titan, I guess.
Right.
Ben?
Do you know how many reprints do you think it's had, though?
But I mean, all right, how many reprints does it have?
13.
I don't care.
I know, I get it. I mean, the thing I like about sometimes you have a playset of different art styles. You could have had a playset of different art styles had they made one.
Why did they do Uro and Croxer?
I do not. Right, so this is right. Okay, this is where we can start to get into like the let's bitch mode about things for no reason, because we've got past, I think, the things that are really interesting in the other bits of the Smitten Super Drop. Why in a product of 3 cards are you going to do one card that's really powerful but banned in EDH, which is, I think, where a lot of Super Drops are kind of geared towards. The other card, Uro, is not playable in Standard and is likely to be banned from other multiple formats because they even stated it within the product page of this.
The ban release.
That's the first information people got. Right? No one knew about it beforehand. Oh, by the way, it might be getting a banning. Hope you're paying attention to this. That already ham-fisted. And then the worst out of the cycle, arguably, being Frost Titan. Sorry, Frosty. You are the worst out of all of them. That's a really hard product to market because half of your audience can't play one half of it. I mean, Prime Time's only available in formats where you play 4 of them, so having one's fucking useless anyway. Uro, cool, great, amazing, but then you're probably likely playing it in EDH. Your friends are going to hate you anyway, and you can't play either of the other 2 cards because you're not going to play Frost Titan, and you can't play Primeval Titan. It's so weird and confusing. I think the only thing that kind of maybe justifies the lack of Sun Titan thinking about it is they might do it as the secret card that comes in the box.
Oh, but then what the no?
So it technically comes in both, which is even more annoying because then it's even more ubiquitous, even though it's the most ubiquitous out of any of them. Anyway.
No, what they should have done is they should have done one Kaldheim showcase. They should have done all 5 of the main Titans, because there are actually other Titans in Magic as well. But they should have done the cycle of 5, and they should have priced it at 40 quid, which is the price of the one foil one for 3. They should have done 5 non-foil, 40 quid. Done.
Yeah.
No one would have cared. No one would have gone, but I want Uro. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, who's saying that? Who's really saying that? I mean, again, I think this. What I said was, what else could they have done though? Like, because I said maybe like battle axes, but there weren't really enough powerful ones. Like, do you do equipment because of the Kaldheim kind of feeling of weaponry? Like, it's kind of tough if you want to use the Kaldheim border more, which I don't think they actually needed to. They did plenty of showcase artworks within the set. For my personal opinion, this is just adding to an already and undated border style. Yeah, it's tough. Like, what do you choose? And again, maybe they wanted one more chance to print Uro before they even say they're going to ban it, you know? Like, again, and also, these art styles are fantastic, but none of them
look great.
None of them are new, right? They're all artists that had showcase artworks within the Kaldheim set. So, for example, the Prime Time is Wolfskull Jack. He did Yorn, Aegar, and Essica's Chariot. Uro was done by the same person who did Vorin, Vorin collects Burge, Tegrid, blah, 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 blah. It goes all the way through. Well, none of them were new artists. I think the newest, the one that was like the most niche were Frost Titan was done by Christopher Lovell, who did Narfi. Amazing artwork. And then Grave Titan is done by, never realised the artist's name, God Machine. And
Oh, sure.
he did Furrier, which I think is the best showcase artwork out of, from me personally, completely subjective. I think Furrier is the best artwork out of all of the showcases, and his Grave Titan is fucking cool. I've put like EA Sports, it's in the name because he is a god machine when it comes to artistry.
What I do like about the Croaks and the Uro especially, Uro by Richard Leong, is that they chose to make them look completely different from how they would look on Theros, right? They look like they belong on Kaldheim, which is great. And and even though like Croxer and Uro and the other kind of Titans in concept were based on loosely on the Titans from Greek mythology for Theros, nature's wrath, death's hunger, these are kind of themes that permeate through lots of different mythologies, right? So it wouldn't be unheard of to have a naturey Titan in Norse mythology. So I think it's they were able to do it. So I understand why they wanted to give them the showcase border. It's just such a weird product. That's my whole thing for this entire super drop. None of them make sense. Like they're all so strange. Whereas in previous super drops, I'm like, yeah, I know what they were going for there. This one, I'm like, even the fairy one is like, that's a real specific thing to do,
and it's very pushed. Like we like it, but that's very much an art style I know most people like. Not most people. That's conflating things. But that's very much an art style that could be adverse to some people. Some people will not like that. Same with the Valentine's drop. Some people just will not like that. And again, we've talked about this in the past. I think this is a great example of it, of where they play it safe sometimes with things like the Kaldheim showcase, and I think it falls flat because they played it too safe. Also, again, this probably gives an indication that they'll do this with future showcases. Every showcase art style will probably be applied to cards outside of the set in a Secret Lair drop going forwards, if they can. Obviously, the adventure one didn't work because of the formatting on the cards. Again, I think, there's just... Either they fall into the side of being bland. I think the showcase Kaldheim didn't need to be a product, and I don't think people would have missed it. Again, don't get me wrong, I think that the Croxer looks really cool, the Grave Titan looks really cool, Uro not looking like a gimp looks really cool, great, fantastic. But I don't think we'd have missed it. The other ones, again, I don't think I'd have missed the basics, but it's quite nice if you wanted to play with some of the more metal effect and more metal cards over the last year between Kaldheim and the Party Hard Shred Hard. You might want lands that fall more into that category. You might not be a Bob Ross kind of guy, fair enough. But yeah, there is a massive amount of like disjointedness between all of these different super drops, I think. And again, either they try really hard to push the diversity and it's only going to be liked by 50% of the audience, or they don't push it and it's probably not particularly liked by many.
Sure. I mean, whatever. Like, yeah, they've got to play. I appreciate the fact that they swung for the fences on this one and did some styles that were very different, and also maybe picked some card picks which maybe I just don't understand because my little baby brain. But yeah, it's just I appreciate that they're going for it, and I would much rather they went for it on these kinds of products than just, as you say, playing it safe, just trying to rake in cash. Like, because you can tell that there is some sort of creative impetus behind it, right? It's not just money grubby, which I kind of like, even though obviously it is because it's companies trying to make money.
It's very much money grubby, but they're packaging it in a way that feels less of a blow to your wallet.
Sure.
I think it's just funny when you get down to the Kaldheim, whatever. It does just it doesn't. I don't feel like showcases are the right place to put in Secret Lairs because you've already kind of got them within the set normal. Maybe I think that's my last criticism.
The Stargazing one made sense because it was the rest of the Pantheon in a art style that was like, well, why didn't we always have these? That's what I felt like. Whereas no one was thinking, well, why haven't they done the
where's Crux's showcase? Yeah, no one was thinking that.
Yeah, very odd. So there we go. I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, they're all fine. People will buy them, and as I will pick up a couple of singles probably. I do want that that Glenlendra.
Yeah,
I also I love my Heliod Sun Crowned constellation artwork, but I'm also very intrigued by the Love God one, if not for just a bit of a flavour piece there.
I think the Boris Charm for me is the one I'm going to go for. I would go for the Rabble Master because I want to get one of every Goblin token, but then when I thought that in my head, I then looked at how many Goblin tokens there are out there, and no, I'm not doing that. There are some that are impossible to get hold of. Yeah, I think I need a Boris Charm, and I think I need a Glenelendra. But again, we say this about most of them, that it's very rare that we get super drops or Secret Lair drops in general that make us want to buy the entire product, and I think to a degree that's a good thing, because I know plenty of people that just auto buy them regardless, but I think it's good for people like ourselves who have maybe a bit more of a step back and we have to be a bit more measured with our opinions and our wallets, that there is still aspects within them that make us go, yeah, they're actually doing exactly the kind of thing that I want, that I'm interested in investing in. So yeah, good job.
I also want that Ponder from Black is Magic.
Oh yeah, to be fair, you can have a playset of cultivates all with absolutely ridiculously stunning artworks now. It's again, art diversity. I think is the one thing that I can't say enough about over the last couple of years. Like, good God, my eyes are so happy.
Oh, it's been great. Vorthos Mike on Twitter put out a post asking what people thought were the best arts, because he's going to do like an article breakdown the best arts from around the year. And God, yeah, like every single answer was different. No one put anything the same, and they were all pretty valid as well. Like I think I said. What did I say? I said anything by Wiley Beckert, and I think I used one of their cards from Zendikar, not Soul Shatter, the other one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very good work. It's nice to see the occasional name bounce across as well. It's good to see Danny Pendergast come back again, because it means that maybe we'll see some of the artists that we don't see within normal sets come back for other Secret Lairs as well.
Yeah, or like other showcases. Like there is something to be said for artists that you probably won't see in the game as one of the main roster, simply because their art style just doesn't suit it, but will be showing up on things like showcases and box toppers, and that's fine. Like, that's fine. We don't need every artist to have all the same amount of airtime, you know. But yeah, bringing in some more diversity is good, I think, for the game.
Exactly.
But yeah, cool.
Yeah. Good. God, that was good. That's a little bit more than I expected to chat about, but that's good. Yeah, there's a lot within this. A lot of this to unpack. And again, like, they're not going to stop doing these. We joke that maybe they'll slow down, but they're never going to stop slowing down. No. As long as they keep this aspect of diversity, I don't mind if the quality has some aspects that I don't agree with, because it's, again, a subjective thing. But yeah, as long as they keep up the diversity across these products, I don't see how they can do wrong.
Sure. I think they've backed themselves into a hole with some of the choices that they made. Like, they did a Year of the Rat last year.
What's the year coming up? Is there a Year of the Goat? Because what the hell do you do with goats?
Well, it's the year of the Ox this year.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you've got the Bartered Cow. You've got the
Colossal Ox.
Yep, the 06. Yeah, cool.
You could do Bruce Tal, Boris Herder. You could do a bunch.
Oh my God, Boris Herder. Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that now. Yeah, Year of the Cow. Great. I mean, they did a Zodiac animal for all of the animals from back in the day, didn't they? There was a set that had a Zodiac for each of them, right?
Yeah, but my point is they haven't done a year of the Ox, but that means that only the Year of the Rat people get a Secret Lair. Yeah. Or like Year of the Dragon when it rolls around. Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay, cool. Pretty sure I don't want to talk about Secret Lairs too much more.
No, it's fine. We're clearly going off track now, so whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll be talking about them about 15 times a year at this rate, so that's fine. Guys, if you want to hit us up on Twitter and talk to us about our opinions on the showcases and the Secret Lairs, all the stuff, you can hit us up on Twitter at mtflavouring. You can also find us on YouTube, Magic the Flavouring on YouTube, OUR, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know how we spell it. We do it the British spelling, obviously, because we are British. Do hit up our videos. We've recently released the Magali Villeneuve episode that we did where we interviewed her. Obviously, that episode came out a few weeks ago on the audio form, but it takes us a few weeks because of our time schedules to get it up in video form. So if you'd rather listen to that interview with image accompaniments, I know a few people have reached out to us being like, love your stuff, but obviously you talk about a lot of card arts that aren't in front of you, and it's like, yeah, that's the downfall of being an audio podcast. But if you want to do the interviews with the visuals, then check that out. That video is done very well because obviously Magali is a very popular artist, so getting on the ground floor there. And also hit up our Law Shop videos as well. Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. My personal Twitter, if you want to shout at me on Twitter, is at AndyManface. Nathan's, yours is
at the Fox in the Moon.
And yeah, I would say any final words, but I don't want to talk about Secret Lairs anymore.
No, I'm just going to say, obviously this will come out afterwards, but hope you're all having a lovely Valentine's weekend, whoever you're spending it with, however you're spending it, whatever you're doing. Big love to you all.
Me and Holly and I don't really do Valentine's Day, but what we do is we buy. Cool for it. Well, like, it's just not something we've ever done. Like, we've been together for 7 years. I don't think we've actually properly celebrated one. But what we do is we buy the meal deals from like local supermarkets. So we have fancy food just by virtue of the fact that it's like more affordable, not because we are actually celebrating Valentine's Day. So that's what we do. But yes, happy Valentine's Day to all. All that remains for me to say is thank you so much for listening. This has been Magic the Flavouring.
We'll see you soon.